Hi everybody, just getting live on Facebook as well. I think it's just about ready to go. There we go. This takes a minute or so to, there we go. I think I'm live in 2 spots. All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's Wednesday today, and on Wednesdays I share a technique with you. So 6:30 Pacific is my regular time, and you'll catch me here sharing some technique. It could be a fun fold, it could be a fancy fold, or it could be a technique. So tonight I'm going to do partial die cutting. It's been a while since I've done that, and I thought I would show you how to do it. It's really easy. I always have to think about it, so bear with me as I do this. But it's really a cool technique once you've kind of figured out how to make it happen. I'm going to use the Spotlight on Nature bundle. So if you've been waiting for that to come back into stock, for a while there the dies weren't available and then the stamp set wasn't available. They are finally both available, I noticed today. So if you've been waiting for Spotlight on Nature, back in stock, which is really exciting. Hey Holly, welcome. Yay, I'm glad you caught me two nights in a row. Okay, so I'm going to use that in Petunia Pop and Berry Burst. I thought it would make a really pretty card. So let's switch over and we'll get started. So again, Spotlight on Nature. It is such a pretty stamp set bundle, and the dies are absolutely amazing. Look at all these circle dies. And they all, well not all, but there are, I think, three different patterns. Yeah, there are 3 different patterns to them, and they come in different sizes, so you can actually create a frame using them, and you can mix and match the patterns, which is fun. Hey Pat, welcome. So you can mix and match the patterns that they come. My favorite, I have to say, is this, what I call the dotted lines. So it's kind of like Morse code with dots and dashes. That's my favorite. I'm not sure why, but it is. Okay, and then of course this beautiful stamp set with this gorgeous, I love this flower. I've used that a lot, and some really pretty sentiments. So like I said, I am using Petunia Pop. Love, love, love this color. That's one of the new in colors. And I'm using some of the Designer Series paper from the Unbounded, I believe it's called Unbounded Love. So let's get started. So I've got 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to score it at 4.25. Now, I'm not actually going to fold it yet because I want to do my die cutting first. And somewhere I had a die out. No, it's gone. I think this is the one I was going to do. Yeah. Okay, so for what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the bigger circles, and then I'm going to put a mat on it. So I've cut this one, this dotted circle, dotted line circle out. This is the second largest size. So out of the large, I'm going to use the largest size for the front of my card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my die here, and I'm using Post-it note tape. So with partial die cutting, what I'm going to do is I'm only going to cut half of this. So when I run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, I'm only going to have the plate put on this right-hand side, because what I want to do is only cut part of this, and I'm going to have a semicircle, and then I'm going to trim away the rest of my card. So you want to make sure you figure out kind of where you're going to cut. And I'm just going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and get it kind of positioned so that you can see. Get my plates in place. Okay, so, and the reason I didn't fold it was because I want it to go through single layer. So when I position this I'm going to move this. I only want half of my circle to be cut. And so that means I'm going to put my cutting plate only half over the die. If I put my top cutting plate over the entire piece of Petunia Pop, I would cut out this circle from the middle. But I only want to cut half of the circle out. And so I'm just going to position my cutting plate over half of that circle. I'm going to try and hold it in place as I push it through, and then I'm going to run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay. So assuming I did this correctly, let's take this off. Yes, I did. Okay. Gently pull that off. Okay. So now you can see that I've got just this partial circle, and actually I didn't really cut it as much as I wanted to. That wasn't as clever as I thought. It didn't actually cut as far as I wanted it to, so I'm going to run it through again. Sometimes that happens. Let's try this again. It cut mostly, but it didn't go as far. I wanted it to go just a little bit farther, so I've put this. Hopefully I've put this back in the right spot. Let's take those off so I can see. So you can kind of feel when you put the die back on, if you need to do that anytime you need to recut because it doesn't cut through. Maybe it was because of these pieces. So let's put these over a little bit. But it didn't cut all the way. It only partly cut. So I'm going to position this back a little bit and see if I can get it to cut a little better. Okay, let's push this so it doesn't slide. There we go. And oopsie, that's what's happening. Okay, this is a tip. So when I pushed it through, I think what happened was as I pushed this through and as I started running it through, my cutting plate was slipping backwards. So I'm going to turn this to go the other way, and I'm going to put my cutting plate the opposite way. So now I've got my cutting plate to the left. And that way, when it runs through, it'll be being pulled. It won't be being pushed off of my paper. I think that's what was happening. Hopefully this will work. Hold this in place until it starts to, yes, okay. And I have had this issue in the past when I've done this. So just watch which way. Let's see if that worked this time. Yeah, that's better. So my cutting plate was being shifted or moved away, and so it wasn't cutting properly. So you just need to make sure that as you're running through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, if your cutting plate shifts, it means it won't cut where you want it to. But you can see that I've got this semicircle now cut. So I'm going to take and put this in my trimmer, and I'm going to cut now because I'm going to cut away, and I'm going to cut away to those lines. And if you don't quite get it right, you can always take your paper snips. So I didn't quite get it all the way to the semicircle on this one. So let's just take and cut up using my paper snips. You could pull it, but I'll end up with a little bit of a ragged edge if I do that. So I'm just going to try and get my paper. There we go. Okay. I hope that made sense. You can do this with any shape of die. If you Google back on partial die cutting on my YouTube channel or on my blog, I'm sure you'll find a card I made using, I think it was a stamp set called Abigail Rose, where I did a partial die cut. So you can use any shape of die, and you just end up with part of the die cut out like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this I love, love, love this piece. So this is going to go on the inside of my card. Oopsie, come on. I've got a clog in my glue. Let's see if I can get it out. I'm trying to be very careful about putting the lid back on my glue right away, but oh, tonight it's not going to work. Let's grab another glue. Because if you leave your glue open, like I often do, you end up with... Hey, Connie, welcome. That's 2 of you that have made it 2 nights in a row. All right, so this piece of designer series paper is cut 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm going to put that on the inside of my card, and I am going to put a white circle under it or on top of it so you have a place to write your sentiment. And then this piece I cut from the same Unbounded Love, but I need to trim this because I've got it to just a bit. So I'm going to take about 1/4 of an inch off. I think I just need to measure how wide that is. Yeah, so that's 2 inches. So I need this to be 1 3/4. I was guessing at where my die cut was going to be when I cut that piece. So this is going to go on like that. All right, so we've got our card base. Got the partial die cutting, and so it still will stand up. I'm going to just burnish that a little bit. I didn't burnish it when I spludged my glue. Yes, there we go. Press that down before the glue is tacky. All right, so it still will stand quite nicely. Hey, Louise, welcome. Hey, Donna. Got everybody, lots of people on tonight. Okay, so like I said, I went ahead and I cut out a couple of these circles, what I'm calling the dotted line. And of course, I didn't poke out these little bits ahead of time. So you're going to have to watch me as I poke out. So my thought is we're going to put one of those on like that. And I've got another one here. So we'll do the same, poke out the dotted bits. If you run this through a couple of times, many of these little bits when you're die cutting will just fall right out. And if you have the brush end that fits onto your take your pick tool and the foam, hey Darlene, welcome. You can use that to kind of brush away the little bits. So one of these, and there are some little bits that are refusing. So one of these is going to go on the inside of my card, hidden, so you won't see it when the card is closed, and then one's going to go on like that. This is the one we're going to do some stamping on. So I'm going to stamp the big flower. Like that. And we're also going to stamp the thanks sentiment. So I'm going to stamp my flower. Since the designer series paper is both Petunia Pop and Berry Burst, I'm going to stamp in Berry Burst. So ink up my... Now I want to leave room. I'm going to try. Okay, if I don't leave room, it's okay. My Berry Burst is very dark. It almost looks red to me. Clean that up so we don't get that all over the place. So that's going to go on like that. And since I don't really have room for my sentiment, I'm going to just take a scrap piece of... I'm just going to take a scrap piece of Petunia Pop and stamp my thanks. And then we'll figure out where that's going to go. So I'm going to use dimensionals. It is pretty colors, isn't it, Connie? Oh my gosh, I love Petunia Pop. And then, so this is Petunia Pop and Berry Burst together. Come on. these dimensional backs. My dog's been coming up and spending time. And of course, the other day she came downstairs and she had dimensional backs on her ear and on her belly. She's kind of long hair these days because we haven't had her to the groomer. She hasn't been very well. And so she's a bit of a sweeper, picking up things. All right, so I'm just going to take and cut my doesn't feel very straight to me. It's because it's not very straight, but that's okay. It's typical for me. So we're just going to take and put a dimensional on one side of this so that I can have it just kind of pop up on the edge, and a little bit of glue just for the other side of it. So we'll just put it there so it's half on and half off. There. Now I pulled some. This is the Petunia Pop bordered ribbon. Oh, Connie, you must have berry burst. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to tie a little bow with this Petunia Pop bordered ribbon. So this bordered ribbon comes in all of the 5 in colors, as well as basic beige, which was a new color that came out this year. So just trying to get a smallish bow if I can. I've got one side that's longer than the other. There we go. I just want a little bow. Like that. Get my tails cut evenly-ish. There we go. So we'll use a glue dot on my bow. Just put it like that. And then I pulled out, these are the in color shimmer gems. So let's use some of the Petunia Pop. It's hard, actually, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, together you can tell that these ones are Petunia Pop and the ones above are pretty in pink. But they're, in my mind, they're almost interchangeable because they are very light in color. But these ones are definitely Petunia Pop. Okay, we still need, she says confidently, because there it is, I hid it inside. We still need somewhere to write a sentiment on the inside of my card. A bit of adhesive there. So we're going to take this, and it will hide nicely on the inside of the card. Oh my gosh, you have to, Holly, you have to. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to take and stamp. There is this little crosshatch. I always like to stamp something on the inside of my cards. So I don't want to have it too big. So I'm just going to take and stamp that crosshatch just so there's something there. And then we're going to glue this down. So my trick for gluing this down is to position this behind that circle and then gently turn this over and press down. And that way I'm for sure going to get it, she says confidently, for sure going to get it underneath and hidden away. Gosh, isn't that pretty? Wow, really love these colors together. So there we go. That is partial die cutting. And if you didn't, if you missed the beginning, my trick to this, because when I did it, I kind of had it not cut the way I wanted to, is to get, I'm going to just show you again, is to get the, so I originally had it going where this top plate was offset and out to the right. And when I pushed it through, this slid and didn't cut where I wanted it to. So my trick is to have it offset to the left, assuming you're rolling it from right to left. And then when you push it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, it doesn't slide off. So rewatch the replay if that doesn't make sense to you. But that's one of the tricks to doing the partial die cutting. And then remember that you can do any die. So I was thinking that, for example, the layers of beauty die stamp, that big rose stamp, would look really pretty if it was partial. Did some partial die cutting, stamped it, and then did some partial die cutting on the front of a card. Maybe that'll be a card for another day. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me tonight. Now, I am taking a little bit of a break. I'm going on a weaving retreat for 7 days starting on Friday. So weaving is my other passion in my life these days. And so I'm going for 7 days to a workshop/retreat at Shawnigan Lake School here on Vancouver Island. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. And I'm just going to immerse myself in the creativity of weaving. So I won't be live after tonight until the 20th of July. So a little bit of self-care for me. So stay tuned, come back on the 20th and I will be live with another project. In the meantime, I will be around, and if you have questions, you can reach out to me on my Facebook group or leave a comment on this YouTube video or any of my YouTube videos, and I'm happy to respond. I will have access. I'm going to take a little bit of time away. So hopefully you'll come back and find me on July 20th. Happy stamping, everybody, and stay cool because it's pretty hot still here where I am, and I think in part most of Canada as well. All right, everybody, happy stamping. Hope you have a great day. Bye.